This is the list? Are you sure? It's like the same as last year. All right. Do you want to know the best health insurance plans to pick out of Ohio's health insurance marketplace or Healthcare.gov? Well, hey, stick around because that's what we're doing today. How's it going, everyone? I'm Joey Gingola with Gingola Insurance. And yes, I know you've been eagerly anticipating this brand new list. You couldn't wait any longer, and I'm sorry it's a little late, but it is here nonetheless. It is time to deliver to you the absolute best plans that I think you should be considering from Ohio's health insurance marketplace or Healthcare.gov. Again, I can't stress enough that while I would love more than anything to have more than one insurance company on this list, it's just not going to happen this year. We're going to get into it this year. There's a small, one tiny change. I do have a few honorable mentions, but for now, Medical Mutual is the only company that I can firmly recommend without any hesitation as far as being an option across the board for almost anybody that I talk to. I guess let's say Medical Mutual went from satisfying 100% of my clients' needs to maybe 99% this year. I did have 2 people buy plans from, well, make that 3 people buy different plans from other companies. So it is possible that your situation might not fit these plans, but again, 99%, that's pretty high. And without further ado, here's the list. The only new plan to crack the list this year is Medical Mutual's MedMutual Market HSA 3000 Silver. This is the plan that I pined for last year, and actually you can go back to the video from last year where I actually asked for this plan to be here. And finally, they must have listened, they must have watched, because here it is, the MedMutual Market HSA 3000 Silver. So 3,000 could be a little misleading to you, as you might see that number. If you are a family, that number is actually going to double. So instead of being a $3,000 deductible like it is for a single person, it becomes a $6,000 deductible for a family. It also has 0% coinsurance, which means after you meet those deductibles, whether it's $3,000 for a single person or $6,000 for the family, you are not going to have to pay any more medical bills that are covered under the plan. And the added bonus of this plan being a silver plan is that if your income falls below 250% on that federal poverty line, you actually qualify for what is known as cost sharing subsidies. And that means that the actual deductibles can go down to some pretty low levels, even as low as, if you're in the lowest tier, $500 for an individual and $1,000 for a family. That means you only pay $500 for anything that happens throughout the course of the year. That's crazy. Wow. Although this is an important note, so if I had like a little alarm and flashing bells and red lights, I would do that here. But this plan is technically not an HSA at the lowest 2 cost-sharing levels. So you've got 250 to 200, still works as an HSA. However, from 200% to 150% of that FPL and 150% to 138%, well, your income qualifies you for those lower deductibles, but those deductibles don't meet the minimum requirements to be HSA eligible, so it is technically not an HSA, which means an HSA bank account in conjunction with this high deductible health plan. High deductible health plan is just a fancy word that the actual HSA is called. It won't work. You won't be able to actually take advantage of that. And next on the list, it's MedMutual's Market HSA 6000 Bronze. So again, this plan is back for a second year on the list, and this is the plan that, you know, if we were standing next to each other, you might slap me in the face for recommending. If I were to tell you that you were going to be on the hook for $12,000 before the health insurance really kicks in or pays for anything, well, I can imagine that there might be a few physical altercations that break out. However, before you start taking a swing at me, I want you to hear me out, because if you haven't taken the time to actually figure out what this plan is going to cost you to actually have for the whole year, and in comparison to what a more expensive plan might cost with a lower deductible, see the Silver HSA or the next plan that we're going to talk about, then you're really doing yourself a disservice, because once you actually do the math, you're going to find out that it is really not as much money as you think is on the hook. The sad part is actually when you buy those more expensive plans, you're actually just guaranteeing spending that money, as opposed to this plan where you only have to pay it if something goes wrong. But again, I break down all that in my How to Get Health Insurance After Obamacare video series, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So, but again, just as we explained on that 3000 Silver HSA, this one is going to work exactly the same. They're almost identical. The only difference is you've doubled the deductible, be it from $3,000 to $6,000 for the single person, or from $6,000 to $12,000 in the case of a family. The most important question that you're going to want to ask yourself when considering this plan is, well, how much did you pay for medical services or treatment last year? And what do you expect you're going to have to pay for the stuff that you know about this year? If it's only $1,000, if it's only $2,000, even if it's only $3,000, then actually buying those plans with lower deductibles is a waste of your money, because guess what? The insurance company is going to be the one that makes out pretty well in that entire deal. Just meeting your deductible means you've paid the insurance company, in this case Medical Mutual, all the money that you have for the entire month, every month for the whole year, plus the full $3,000 that you were on the hook for, and they were going to start to have to pay after that $3,000. So if you don't have an extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of services past the deductible, then that lower deductible really isn't gonna, it's actually gonna cost you more money. It's not gonna do what you want. And the last plan to make the list is the MedMutual Market Classic 1000 Gold. Now remember, this plan was on here last year, and I'm gonna reluctantly put it on the list again this year just because you might need it. Now, while it might be a very select few, a rare group of you that this actually makes sense for, just because that there are those few scenarios out there, and this is probably the best plan that I would go with. If you needed to find a plan like this, I just felt compelled to put it on here. The biggest advantage the Market Classic Gold has is the unlimited copays that it offers for doctor's office visits and prescription copays. So the only time that this plan might make sense for you is if you have to see your doctor in excess of 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 times a year. That's a lot. I know that that's not a lot of you. Or if you are on a couple brand name medications that are a couple $100s a month, and you can't or don't like the idea of paying the full cost of those medications up to those deductibles like the HSA plans. But you are going to want to make sure that you absolutely need those copays before you take the plunge and select this plan. All right, now it's time to give out the awards to the people that we just want to make feel good and go home with a medal. I'm kidding, but that's kind of what this is. So these are the only 2 companies that, well, I've actually sold policies for outside of Medical Mutual. Well, Anthem doesn't count. There's a couple holdovers on Anthem, but we've talked plenty about Anthem, and we'll talk a little bit about them in a second. So the first company is Assurant Health, and I've had actually a couple people ask me if they're a real legitimate insurance company, and they've been around a long time. I've been dealing with them as long as I've been in the business, and the reason that they make the honorable mentions list is that, well, one, they have a crazy expensive, really like Rolls-Royce-y type plan with a 0 deductible platinum plan. If you're in the market for such a thing, they're offering it. And more importantly, they actually have a network that can compete, if not surpass, Medical Mutuals. And for that, I mean, I have to give them at least credit where credit's due, and they did not limit their network like some companies, Anthem, and they kept that network intact. Well, the other one is InHealth Mutual, and they are the new kids on the block. This is their very first year as a health insurance company in the state of Ohio. But they're on this list because it seems like from my initial findings that the network is relatively okay and the plan offerings are fairly standard. So it's a lot better than the HMO nonsense that we see going on from companies like United Healthcare and more importantly, CareSource. You're going to want to make sure when you're looking at these companies that you see the letters PPO in most cases next to them, as the difference between an HMO and PPO are drastic. And in the world of cost sharing subsidies, one more time, another alternative that you might qualify for if your income meets those needs is the MedMutual Market Classic 2000 Silver. This is a great plan when your income gets below that 200% line. It will be basically what I like to tell everybody, the best health insurance deal that you will have ever seen. Hands down, I can't say any more about it. If your income qualifies you for it and the price is relatively feasible for you, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So, well, where's everyone else at still? I don't know. To be honest with you, I was hoping that we would have a few more names to put on this list this year. I was also hoping that we might have a few more plan options. We did get the one that I was hoping for with the $3,000 deductible, but there's still a little room left to be desired as far as Medical Mutual and their plans that they do offer. Your main goal in picking a plan is to do it with a company that provides you with the greatest choices of doctors and hospitals and the most affordable rate, and has a plan structure benefit style that actually works for what you need. Now again, coming back to that little brief complaint that I had about Medical Mutual and the fact that, well, my biggest complaint is that the jump from their silver plans to their bronze plans, it's a pretty big gap. And sometimes somebody's looking for something in between, not necessarily on the benefit front, but more or less the cost front. And what they have right now, well, it's not really doing it. And that's, I think, the biggest weakness that they have, where other companies like Anthem, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and really any of the other ones, United, they have a few more selections. The worst part is that they just don't have the doctors that you probably want to go see. But of those things that are most important, plan structure is really the first one that I would compromise on in a heartbeat. Not even gonna lie. So what's the bottom line? Well, again, I could go ahead and just put together a fancy list that included more insurance companies, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'm not gonna make it work just to create some sort of false perception for you. Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, if you were to come to me and say, Joey, what health insurance company would you put your family with right now? It would be Medical Mutual. I guess the cost difference that you might find with a company like CareSource, or to a lesser extent InHealth, and even Anthem, maybe in some rare circumstances, it's not worth what you're giving up in terms of access to network doctors and hospitals. Just isn't even close. So if I felt that was worth your money, and if I thought that, I guess I'll put it this way: if it's the only thing you can afford, if it's really the only thing you can afford, obviously any health insurance is better than no health insurance. That's I've said that for, I mean, I could go back to how many videos that we've done. I probably said it in at least half of them. So, but that's it. I hope you enjoyed this year's list. If you have any objections, well, feel free to let me know. But right now, what I'm going to ask you to do is, obviously, if you need help with your specific health insurance need during open enrollment, well, feel free to just reach out to me, email me, joey@jingolainsurance.com, or you can head over to our site, jingolainsurance.com/schedule, and you can just grab a time on my calendar to talk, and you let me know when to call you, and I'll just give you a ring, and we'll just go through whatever it is, questions that you have, answers that you need. It'll all be there right for you, and we'll just get through it really quick and easy, and really just save you a little bit more stress and sanity on the whole health insurance front. If you prefer to go the whole do-it-yourself route, well, I would encourage you to grab our free 5-part video series on how to get health insurance after Obamacare here in Ohio, and that's going to walk you through all of these little steps, break down everything that you need to do. Go ahead, click on this big image right here. That's going to take you right to the page to start watching those videos, so feel free, go ahead and start getting after that now. That's it. Of course, I do want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I do greatly appreciate it. But as always, I am Joey Jingola with Jingola Insurance. Take it easy, everybody.